The following program does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Reality Radio 101, its advertisers and sponsors, or its listening audience. Listener discretion is advised. Good afternoon and welcome to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts Fred and Janet Cox right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
And good afternoon to everyone this afternoon. It's a wonderful Sunday afternoon once again. It is 5:30. This is our favorite time and your favorite time as well. So Hopefully. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all of our listeners and viewers across Canada, the United States, around the world. We are the Coxes. Thank you for allowing us into your private space. Every Sunday at this time is our fun time because we offer tips in an edutainment format designed to stimulate the mind and help us get one step closer to living a healthier lifestyle. This broadcast will be available on YouTube as well as Facebook and on Spotify. If you go to Facebook or Spotify, just type in Liquid Green Health Show and we will pop up. Give us your likes, your comments.
What about YouTube?
Right?
Did you say that?
Yeah, same on YouTube. Just type in Liquid Green Health Show and give us your likes, your comments. You can also contact us during the show and after at liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. Please let us know where you're listening from, where you're writing us from. We want to get those comments and, all is going to be well. Anything you want to say? Try and move on.
No, I'm looking forward.
Caught you by surprise there, huh?
No, surprise, and it has nothing to say.
Okay. Well, we have a wonderful show in store for you this evening, folks. Very, very good show. We have a wonderful guest as well. And today we are discussing, heart disease, how to avoid it, what not to do, and what you should be doing to avoid this terrible condition that can happen if you don't take care of yourself. Now, you can't avoid it all, but we can mitigate the risks, right?
Yeah. It's funny, you and I were talking this week about, and folks, Frederick gets carried away so often. He laughs incessantly at commercials.
Oh yeah, because they're funny.
I think that's probably a good thing, right? It's good for stress. But he went on, and we were debating which is the strongest, which is the most important organ. And I think lots of people talk about this, right? Not general family conversation, but we do talk about so many health issues. And we both agreed that it was the heart. Yeah. And that it had such a job. It's like the engine in the factory, right?
The little engine that keeps going.
But then we also did the show on poop.
Yeah.
And then we realized that the heart is very powerful, but
so is the anus.
If the anus says, I'm not working today, we are in trouble, right?
Nobody's passing here today, man.
That's a lot. That had you in hysterics. Anyway.
Yeah. So before we introduce our guest, heart disease, it's a wide range of conditions that kind of affect the heart. And they would include things like damaged blood vessels, such as coronary artery disease, irregular heartbeats, right? Arrhythmias, heart problems that you might be born with, like congenital heart disease. And there are other types of heart disease as well. Some of them are preventable.
And that's what we're going to get into with our
Yeah.
guest, right?
Some of them are preventable, but the ones like, congenital heart defects and arrhythmias, those are kind of difficult. You're born with it. You're just going to have you're going to have to live with it.
Yes. And Sam, we're going to introduce Sam Richards.
In a minute. Before I get to that, I just want to give some statistics,
Okay.
right? About heart disease. 17.9 million people died from CVDs, right, in 2019, and that's the most recent statistics that I have. And it goes on to say that over 3/4 of these CDVs deaths, they take place in low and middle income countries.
And CVD for our audience, of course, is cardiovascular disease, correct? Okay, good.
Right. So those are just some of the statistics. But as I said earlier, heart disease is I didn't say this, but heart disease is a leading cause of death, but it's not inevitable, right? It could be avoided. And while you can't change some of the risk factors, such as family history, sex, or age, there are plenty of ways in which we can avoid or we can reduce our risk of heart disease, right? And so here to offer some suggestions as to how to avoid the onset of preventable heart disease, what not to do and what to do, is our guest, Sam Richards. And I'm going to let you.
Great. And before I introduce Sam, I'd like to talk about a friend of mine, because it's through my friend Gloria Small, and that I met Sam. And Sam, we only met like a few days ago, but I was so impressed with what you were talking about. Like, my friend Gloria actually runs a not-for-profit, and she's one of the hardest working, most sincere, most genuine people I know. And her group is called DGAG, that's the Durham Community Action Group. And through this space that she has in a small town in Ontario, in Ajax, she actually runs a food bank. She has seminars for seniors. She does food delivery on Sundays. She does so much stuff. And I just happened to be in her at the workplace where we're both sharing a couple of students from another program. And there was Sam talking to a group of seniors, and I had to join them. Of course, I'm the kindergarten senior, Sam. I like to say that, right? But I'm just going to tell them a little bit about you. Sam is a registered nurse. He specializes in mental health and addictions. He has a certificate in psychiatry from the Canadian Nurses Association, CNA. He's also a certified personal trainer. He has a special interest in, not my friend, but in plant-based nutrition, soon to be adopted into our life more, right, Frederick? Anyway, he's very motivated, and Sam says he's addicted to inspiring change in the lifestyle of others. And that's what I hope to our listeners, we're going to be able to impart some of that if we ever get him a chance to get started. He helps others to make transformational decisions that actually increases their health, and most importantly, longevity, because you have longevity. But if you don't have health, what's the point of longevity, right? So Athletically, is it time already? We're going to hold the commercials until I complete the introductions, okay? Gary, I know we had a commercial schedule, but we're just going to hold on and just,
not for 20 minutes yet.
Okay, good. All right. So Athletically, he was very competitive at the high school and university level. And you also played basketball provincially. He enjoys his role as public servant, helps others with their fitness goals, along with optimal physical and mental health. And with that, Sam, I'd like to thank you for the short notice and for agreeing to impart some of your knowledge with us here today. Welcome to Liquid Green Health Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here as a guest on the Liquid Green Health Show. Yeah, it's just amazing to be able to spread positive messages and talk about heart health, which, as you mentioned, is a leading cause of death in North America. I think one of the other things that are up there in terms of death and mortality is the CA word, the cancer word. So I'm sure that
big C.
The big C. I'm sure we've all been touched by either the big C or, heart diseases at some point in our lives. And if we haven't already, unfortunately, I think that we need to be on the lookout for that occurring. So yes, in terms of managing your heart health, let me just actually just give you a little synopsis of why I even have a special interest in the plant-based nutrition and how that ties into your heart health. So as I've always been a very intense, active person. I've competed on a pretty high level in terms of basketball. I go to the gym. I considered myself a healthy individual. And for years, I was a steak and potato guy. I love my meat. I'm a West Indian background. My mother's a chef.
Oh,
She knew,
wow.
and my mother's a chef, so she could cook both, North American culinary food and actual West Indian food. In terms of, oxtail, I love using oxtail
yeah.
as a topic because
Yeah.
everybody seems to love oxtail, right? So, as I said, I would be eating that, trying to get big and strong, like every other guy I think does as a young man. I got to get big and strong, so. I'm 40 now, so after competitive basketball, I think my activity level kind of dropped a little bit, but my diet was the same, and I was eating and I was gaining a lot of weight, and I thought I was healthy, right? So, but over the time, and that's the thing, over time, it does add up, right? So I was beginning to get, lethargic, my joints were hurting, I had asthma, and I really was unhappy with the way I felt internally. So, all these things are related to your heart and how your heart functions. So that's when I made the switch and went over to a whole plant-based eating kind of lifestyle. And I think that really helped me both athletically and physically. But I digress. In terms of the heart health now, I just really want to go over what the heart is and give us that kind of background and knowledge in terms of what it is. As you said, it's the pump, it's the engine. Right? It's the engine of your body from day one to now.
Yes.
So when we're talking about the heart, it beats every day, 24/7, and it has arteries and veins where the oxygenated blood goes from your heart to the body and back deoxygenated, and it just continues on and on 24 hours a day, right? So these things over time, if you overwork them or you treat them poorly, just like the engine in your car, they break down. So there are different kinds of heart diseases. We have mentioned the coronary artery disease, which is the thickening of the arteries in your heart, or bursting of those, or any kind of deterioration of those lines that pumps the blood through your body, right? Yeah, and as you said, there are ways that we can prevent those from actually occurring in terms of the disease process. And sometimes it just is what it is, and you're born with it. And we have to talk about genes as well, because sometimes you are just born with some sort of defect or something that will happen or malfunction down the road. Unfortunately, it's hard for us to tell where we're at, and we are resilient. Our bodies are very, very resilient in terms of, responding to hardships and the disease process. However, we have a limit to that if we don't take care of our bodies, right? Just because, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
Yeah, so just because, I might be able to get away with, let's go back to oxtail, eating oxtail 3 days a week and, not exercising, and I live, very long and fulfilling life, doesn't mean the next person will be able to, because cholesterol and buildup in the arteries is something that can lead to coronary artery disease.
So
Sorry,
can somebody actually have CVD and not know it?
Oh, wow. That's a great question, because in the health field, I have friends that work on cardiac floors, and through my own experience with the whole health field, I'm a registered nurse. So I've seen a lot that happens on a regular basis, day to day. So let's say you have a heart attack, okay? Maybe you went to your doctor a couple of days ago, you did your stress test, you had your blood work done, and you fall within the norm. And we had this conversation about what's normal versus what's optimal, right? So you could be totally fine. You could get a bill of health that says you are totally healthy. But the only way to really see what's going on in terms of that cardiac, coronary artery plaque buildup is to actually get in there and see what is happening. So you only get that after you get a heart attack, or unless you pay for it privately. Okay. So you have your heart attack. Okay, let's God forbid that any of you guys or myself have a heart attack anytime soon, but you're going to get a piece of paper just like this, and it's going to have a diagram of your heart, and it's going to tell you 70% blockage here, 80% blockage here, 30% blockage here. That's when you can actually see. Unfortunately, it's always after the fact. It's always after the fact, which is unfortunate. These things take years to build up.
So you basically you couldn't go to your doctor and said, okay, this is the time that I would like to have a checkup, and can you check to see what are the conditions of my arteries?
Right. So what I'm saying is the test, the specific test that I'm talking about is an angiogram, which you get into your arteries and actually see how much blockages you have. And a doctor is not going to order that. It's unfortunate, but it's just not going to order that because you feel that it's time, or you think that you've led a very difficult life. And okay, well, I know I've been eating oxtail every day. Back to oxtail. So your coronary arteries are full and they're plaquey, and I need to check it out. They're not going to order it. They're going to do, your stress test. They're going to test your cholesterol. They're going to do all these other tests, which may give you a printout of being normal. But like we discussed, I think it's about being optimal, right? Because
colonoscopy, is that one of the tests they do? But that's for different.
That's for your bowels.
That's for stomach. I was thinking I mixed up for a minute.
So basically, the average person just have to hope and wish that you don't get a clogged artery or something like that. How do you avoid that? The
reason I brought up the colonoscopy, I was gonna turn it around. What they do for the stomach, it's just so unfortunate. If they think the stomach is so important to avoid cancer, to look for those polyps, I'm just thinking, why wouldn't they have something the same for the heart, which is probably even more important? Well, I don't know if it's more important, but as important,
These things keep me up at night, because they'll recommend for you to get a colonoscopy after 40, or after 40, 50. I think it's 40 in Canada. So it pretty much takes time. Again, they're going to allot you a certain amount of time based on the research, about 40 years to develop a polyps or something that is going on inside your body, and they'll still go for your checkup. Unfortunately, sometimes they get in there and see a lot of damage occurring, and maybe you're too late. And maybe you could have prevented it a long time ago, but they don't readily do that for your heart. Absolutely not.
But with a death rate as high as 2.9 times among adults age 20 and over, this is something that they should be able to do a test, just like they do the colon and the prostate and stuff, make it mandatory.
I agree. I mean, you have a heart attack, you're going into a cardiac cath lab. If you need to get a stent put in, they'll put in a stent. If they need to throw in a balloon, they'll put in a balloon. And at that point, when they're in there, they'll actually tell you, okay, you have this kind of blockages in your heart, and we'll throw you on some medications, and then they'll start recommending to you heart healthy diets, such as the DASH diet, which is based on a vegan diet. But because most people can't cut it out, they just think, I love meat, I need it in my life. It's very hard for people. It's so culturally driven and emotionally driven that it is hard for the average person to cut back on their meat demands 100%. So I totally empathize with that.
No, we know where we stand, and a lot of our audience, I know, are meat lovers. judging from the amount of pictures we get on hamburgers and chicken.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
is it, I know you talk about normal versus optimal.
Right.
So are you saying that a plant-based diet is optimal, but it's okay to have the meat, especially as Frederick, we know we've talked about this all the time. If the meat doesn't have the hormones, it's from the grass-fed source.
Yeah.
If you're minimizing quantities, if you're not eating it every day, you can still enjoy this. What is your
Take on that.
take on that premise?
We spoke pretty deeply and passionately about the meat piece. And yes, of course, if we're talking about likelihood of the disease process actually occurring. Now, let's just start off with the quality of meat. Yes, I think that makes a big difference. Here in North America, most of our antibiotics are going to our livestock. They're slaughtered in a non-humane way, etc. Like all of the steroids and hormones in the cow or in the chicken, you're getting that into your body 100%. Right. But in comparison to another country where, they might not have all these antibiotics and steroids and the animals are actually treated better, that meat, I think, would be better in terms of ingesting it. And I find them to a lot more they have less meat. So the steroid piece is very prevalent and you can see it. It's right there in front of your face. If you add, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, just hold your thoughts there. I can hear the music coming in for
yeah. We'll come back to that.
You're listening to the Liquid Green Health Show, folks, on Reality Radio 101. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Join the eco revolution with the Liquid Green Products Reseller Program. Are you passionate about sustainability? Ready to make an impact while earning extra cash? Then look no further. Get on board with Liquid Green Products and become a part of our reseller program. Why us? We're not just another eco-friendly company. We are a movement for a greener future. Join our reseller program and be an advocate for sustainable living and enjoy the benefits of a profitable business venture. What makes us special? Our eco-friendly products are top-notch, made with plant-based ingredients. They're safe for your customers and the planet. From household to industrial use, we've got the perfect eco solution for everyone. As a Liquid Green Products reseller, you'll make great profits and gain access to our marketing goodies, including product catalogs, promotions, and digital assets. We'll train you on our products so you can impress customers with the benefits. We're all about strong partnerships, so we're here to support your success. Together, we'll create a sustainable future, reduce footprints, and inspire eco-conscious choices that make a difference. To learn more and to sign up for this amazing income potential, please visit our website at www.liquidgreenproducts.com/reseller or call us at 416-460-5645. That's 416-460-5645. Start making a difference and start earning a profit today with the Liquid Green Products Reseller Program. Saving the planet with one clean at a time. Welcome back to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101. Send us an email right now. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
And welcome back, everyone. We are here talking about heart health, how to avoid it, what to do, what to not to do. And our guest today is Sam Richards. He's a registered nurse, and he is giving us some
Very
ideas.
qualified in telling us, not just a nurse, but a personal trainer, right? Okay,
That's correct.
so before our break, you were talking to us about I don't remember specifically, you were going to something.
Right. No, we were talking about if you are consuming animal products and whatnot, how do you take care of your heart health, right? So, yes, I'm not saying that you should totally avoid it if that's what you like and that's part of your whole your lifestyle and whatnot. But if you are concerned with optimal heart health, yes, you should try to incorporate a lot more greens, beans, vegetables, fruits, legumes, greens and beans. Liquid green show. So like greens and beans, top notch,
Yeah.
right? So in terms of your diet, you should really try to incorporate those because that will help to mitigate some of the inflammatory processes that are going on when you take in not only meat, but we really haven't touched on salt. We haven't touched on sugar.
Yeah.
These things really help to reduce the effect of the impact of inflammation from these things in your system, which has a very damaging toll on both that heart pump that we talked about and the tubes and the plumbing, if you will, the plumbing in your heart, the arteries and the veins, right? So nutrition is one, and I'll go back to salt because salt is one of those things that can be added to a lot of products, and you can surpass your daily recommended for salt in one meal in a couple of bites. So packaged goods, things in cans, you really have to learn to read those labels and try to keep into consideration that you want your total intake to be under 2,200 milligrams. And that's what is a normal range or the recommended range. But we talked about what's normal and what's optimal. I think especially for African-American descent and people that are a little bit more sensitive to heart disease and kidney failure, that should be even lower. I think it should be towards the 1,500 mark. But again,
Sorry, what is that in terms of in teaspoons? What is that? I know for sugar, a can of Coke has like 12 teaspoons, but what is that? What's optimal for salt?
In terms of teaspoons, I think it's better to look at packaging, and you can see it right there. The actual amount per teaspoon, I can't remember the exact number. I don't want to give out false information, but I can definitely get back to you in terms of what's in a teaspoon. But 2,200 milligrams is the number that is the regular daily intake. And again, you can fly right past that really fast in a bag of chips, a bowl of whatever, and added salt. You can then just get carried away depending on what your taste buds are used to. So salt, sugar, we also we need to talk about that because diabetes is so related to our heart disease, and it actually increases our risk of our cardiovascular disease and death quite a bit when we're talking about diabetes. And naturally, if you're diabetic, you're more prone to being overweight. It puts a lot of stress on again, back to that pump and the veins and the vessels, puts more stress on those physical structures, which then can lead to heart failure, heart disease, arrhythmias, those kinds of things, right? So very, very important nutrition.
I want to get back to the salt factor. Salt, like meat, it depends on the quality that you're getting. Just about everything that we eat has salt, right? Whether it's natural or it's processed or whatever, there's a certain amount of salt in there. But it's the added salt that you're adding to the food. The processed salt, right, is more dangerous. The white salt that a lot of people use, a lot of our West Indian family and relatives, they use a lot of this white packaged salt that is heavily processed.
So are you saying then, let me ask Mike, sorry, Sam, if you're using the pink,
The Himalayan salt.
Himalayan?
It's like Himalayan salt.
Himalayan?
Yes.
yeah, is that better for you, or is it just still salt?
Himalayan salt is definitely better than your white processed salt.
Right. And
However,
that's what I was getting to.
Right, I know,
Right.
I know.
here's the caveat. That said,
Just salt.
wherever sodium goes, water flows. So on a cellular level, when you have salt in your cell and in your bloodstream, the water will get in there. That increases even just sheer volume, right? So you have way more blood in your system, in your heart, which could lead to overload and more stress on your heart muscle. So in a nutshell, salt, yes, salt is salt, but there are tiers to it 100%. Just
So-
like the sugar thing, right? So it's more sugar. What is it coming from? Fruits versus, table sugar. Yeah, obviously the sugar found in fruits is better for you because it has a lot of other things involved too that help to bring down those net carbs. But yeah, it's still, you can still go into overload in terms of your
So
sugar
when
intake.
the doctor gives you the pill, the blood pressure pill, can you tell us why do they give you a blood pressure pill? And is that the same as what they call, some people say, oh, I'm taking a water pill. Is that the same as the regular standard blood pressure pill? I'm not sure.
Perfect. I mean, there are a bunch of different kind of heart medications. Well, let's just focus here on the water pill. So we just mentioned wherever sodium goes, right? Water flows. So in an effort to bring down the volume, blood volume and water volume inside of your arteries, you have a water pill. So then you take your pill, spirulactone, Lasix, you take that pill, hydrochlorothiazide, and that helps you to excrete water. So, one of the side effects is frequent urination. So, but you have to obviously watch out for dehydration as well. So it's trying to create a better balance within your bloodstream. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. What about low fat or fat-free dairy foods? How bad is that for heart health?
So if you're going to eat dairy, dairy for me, no, never. It's just full of a lot of things. I mean, if I was going to go back, it would be meat over dairy 100%. Okay. When we talk about milk products and cheese products, whether low fat or high fat, it's still a large portion of it has hormones in it, especially estrogen, and in terms of milk, it's animal estrogen. So there is a debate in terms of which estrogen is better, plant estrogen versus animal estrogen. The answer is plant estrogen is actually protective for you, and animal estrogen is very harmful, especially when it's heated. Right. So if you're going to eat it, for sure, we want the low fat, because we're talking about cholesterol, right? So cholesterol, I think we can all agree, is very bad for you in terms of your heart health. And you should probably try to limit that, because those things do develop and build up in your arteries.
So we're discussing three things right now, the three enemies. Well, I think fat has had a bad name, and we could do a whole show on just fats, because there's the good fats, there's the bad fats. Fats have been demonized, and people have had the wrong thing. We've been taught for years the wrong thing about fats. But if I could exclude fat for the minute and just talk about salt and sugar, and ask you, if you had to choose one to work on immediately, would it be sugar or salt? Or should you be choosing, or how do you answer that?
Tough question.
That is a tough question. But let's just start look, we need salt and sugar. All right. We actually need a certain level of it. We need our blood sugar to be stable. We need a certain level of sodium in our bloodstream. Otherwise, you become hypernatremic, where it can be actually fatal. I think I'm going to say, if I had to choose, which I would just do both simultaneously, I would probably do salt. I think, I would probably do salt. But not to say you cannot. I would
or
reduce the amount.
It first. I would probably start with salt.
You being happy?
No, because you didn't. No, you didn't say you would do sugar first.
Yeah, my recommendation is that you do both.
Yeah, you do both. But if you have to make a choice, you go with the salt first.
No, you know what? If I had to make a choice, I would do both. Yes. My second option would be doing, I guess, salt first, but there's no right answer to that. We just do both.
Right. They're both bad in excess, right?
So back to heart health. We talked about nutrition. We want to obviously exercise. We talked about exercise quite a bit. And, I think there's a difference between male and female or other. I think, like somebody like myself is going to go to the gym and go lift weights, but maybe exclude my cardio, which is obviously needed. And I think someone like yourself, Janet, might choose cardio.
Yes.
Right.
Over the weight.
But and over the weights, because that's what we're comfortable with. And quite honestly, we need both, especially women, as we do decrease muscle mass pretty quickly.
Yes.
After the age of 40. Right. So I think males generally have a heavier muscle mass, which helps us burn fat and protects our bones and whatnot. And I think as somebody older than me, as a female, I think I said that right.
It's okay. It's okay. I can hear Mom.
We also have to consider the effects of like estrogen and the normal hormonal changes that occur for women that can also affect cholesterol management, right? So cholesterol is something to be.
I have a question for you. When I go to the gym, I tend to focus more on cardio, more so than the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
How beneficial is that?
As a man, because he just spoke about it for women, but it's the same principle for men. Or should he be doing more because of muscle mass?
I think he can get away with doing less muscle, less weight resistance, because from the looks of him, I can see that he's in pretty good shape. You're in pretty good shape, man.
Yeah, man.
So you have that muscle mass, but it doesn't say that you should not maintain it, because after the age of 40, you really start to lose it, and you need that muscle mass to protect your body.
Okay. I'm telling you, I want to trade him in for the younger model. I've seen your picture.
Oh yeah.
I've seen your picture with the muscles, right?
A lot of hard work and dedication. And I am focused on keeping that. Yes.
And a question, the same question: sugar versus salt, exercise versus nutrition. I've heard that you should actually, like, nutrition is, you're gonna do better if you want to lose weight. It's going to be what you eat versus how you exercise. Could you explain that to our audience? And after that, we'll go to some emails. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. It's going to be diet over anything else. You cannot outwork a bad diet. You can sit down and eat 2,000 calories in less than 5 minutes. Do you know how long it takes to burn 2,000 calories in the gym?
6 months.
I don't know.
Wow. It could be up to 6 months.
6 months.
Right. And not only that, in terms of weight loss, the effects of greens, beans, whole food, plant-based stuff in your system is exponential in terms of, again, reducing inflammation, right? In terms of those vessels in your heart, because we're talking about your heart, right? And not only that, it also reduces the negative effects of something called the IGF-1, which is a growth factor that grows our bad cells, like cancer cells and stuff like that. So it's instantaneously. We're talking about blueberries, dark leafy greens. If you had to add anything to your diet, it's anything with that dark pigment of the blueberry and kale.
Even the dark vegetable, the dark greens like eggplants and stuff like that.
Yes.
Sam,
100%.
we had an entire show on blueberries.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a few minutes, read some email, and then we're going to go to a commercial, and we'll get back to our guest. Right. Okay, so give us a few minutes here, Sam.
Okay.
We have some commercials.
Sorry.
Beth. Yeah. Go ahead.
Beth says, hello, Fred and Janet. Tell your listeners to stop drugs as well. This does, in fact, affect the heart.
Definitely.
What about Mike? As we go through why am I always saying
Sam?
Mike?
Sam, yes.
Mike, who's Mike?
Mike is
our producer. Our producer.
Okay.
He looks so
Mike is our boyfriend.
Of course. Okay. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah.
Well, he makes us look good on YouTube, right?
Good.
Sorry to interrupt. I did post the salt. 2,300 milligrams is about 1 teaspoon of salt.
Okay, thank you. See, we have the producer that's working hard behind the scenes. Thanks. Thanks for that. This person said about drugs. What's the effect of drugs on?
Wow.
I know it's a big subject, so in a short frame, the time goes so quickly on this show.
So let's just start with, simple drugs such as nicotine. And a lot of times, nicotine gets very overlooked, smoking in general. This is what I'm referring to. Yeah. So we talked about the heart being a pump. We talked about its vessels, and the heart vessels need to be able to constrict and dilate. Right. So when you smoke and get all that in your system, what happens is the arteries, they start to harden, and your ability to constrict and dilate within those vessels is affected. And over time, they can break, they can cause damage. I can tell you from personal experience that my dad was a very healthy guy, kind of looked like you. He was a strong guy, very built, very athletic. He was working right up into the age that he passed, but he was a heavy smoker. And, he had 3 strokes as a result of it, I think. And it's unfortunate, but, it is what it is. Sometimes we like to hear good things about our bad habits, but I will not be doing that today. Smoking, if you can stop, that's great. If you can reduce, I definitely support that, and that's going to be very beneficial for your health.
Use and eliminate. And
Mike, we're going to hold off with the commercial for a little while. We'll get to the commercial a little later.
Yes, let's go to some more emails. So it's hello, Coxes. Avoiding heart disease. This is from Mike, another Mike. Avoiding heart disease is not always possible. Diet is very, very important, and so is exercise. Our genes also have an important role as a precursor for heart disease. So help it, folks. Eat well. And Mike is writing from Toronto. Okay. And the genes, again, we know that there is a factor. I think you mentioned that in the beginning, right? So next one, Frederick.
So I'd actually like to touch on that if you have time.
Yes.
So in terms of genes, right? I totally agree with what was said in terms of, if we're born with it, we can definitely develop it. And sometimes it's just within within our cards. There's something called gene expression, right? So if you create an environment that fosters a healthier cell, a healthier heart, then yes, you can try to delay the onset of those genes, delay the expression of those bad genes. So even though it is in our cards to have a heart attack or a stroke or whatever it may be, we can definitely try to delay that. And I think all of us are in the same boat in terms of what should we do. Not everybody's going to live to 100, but I think we should definitely try to and put ourselves in a better likelihood of not experiencing some of these diseases. Sorry, I can't hear you. Are you there?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to do more than 100 because there's AI, and that's going to make a big difference, right? So I'm counting on AI to be my best friend.
You best get AI. Best get AI to make a better heart too.
But eat those nuts, Coxes, without salt. Oh my goodness! Yeah. You know what I do with the nuts? I buy both because I love the salt, but I know raw and unprocessed is better. So I buy both and I mix them.
Yeah. Okay, let me get to another email here. Here's one from Brian, and says, this is the topic of all topics. There are so many folks with heart disease. It is going to get worse. They should be eating liquid green cleaner for an alternative snack instead of donuts. Well, we'll try and figure out how to get that one out there. Okay, thank you for that. Brian.
Stress. We got to take down our stress levels.
Stress is one of the things that we have to be cognizant of as well, because these are those kind of conditions do put a lot of stress, more work on the heart, right? Yeah. And as we all know, the heart is a very small, organ. It's the size of your fist, but it works 24/7, 365. It continuously works. I wanted to ask a specific question before you continue with the rest of the email. For someone who has irregular heartbeats, right? The arrhythmias, is it something that they can get rid of over a period of time? Is there any kind of treatment, or it's just one of those conditions that, well, you're born with it and there's nothing much you can do other than treat it?
I think it's more along the lines of the treatment. There are things that we can implant into our heart that can help with the patterns of beats. I think, especially in America, it might be, very expensive. Over here, I'm not sure if we're if we're privy to that kind of treatment. But there are ways, like a pacemaker, there's different kinds of instruments that we can actually insert. And depending on what level your heart is functioning at, you may or may not be eligible for that. And your doctor might not be willing to go that route. But definitely management and keeping on top of it. That's what we need to do. So myself, I have an irregular heartbeat, and I also have a low heart rate. So my resting heart rate is low because of all of my years of athletics. But that's something that I feel, and I really have to be mindful as I become older in age.
Okay.
What my heart condition is, what my heart status is like.
Okay, so when we come back from the commercial, which we'll do right now, when we come back, I'm going to ask you about, we're going to read another email, and that will bring up a question.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, folks, you're listening to the Liquid Green Health Show on Reality Radio 101. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Join the eco-revolution with the Liquid Green Products Reseller Program. Are you passionate about sustainability? Ready to make an impact while earning extra cash? Then look no further. Get on board with Liquid Green Products and become a part of our reseller program. Why us? We're not just another eco-friendly company. We are a movement for a greener future. Join our reseller program and be an advocate for sustainable living and enjoy the benefits of a profitable business venture. What makes us special? Our eco-friendly products are top-notch, made with plant-based ingredients. They're safe for your customers and the planet. From household to industrial use, we've got the perfect eco solution for everyone. As a Liquid Green Products reseller, you'll make great profits and gain access to our marketing goodies, including product catalogs, promotions, and digital assets. We'll train you on our products so you can impress customers with the benefits. We're all about strong partnerships, so we're here to support your success. Together, we'll create a sustainable future, reduce footprints, and inspire eco-conscious choices that make a difference. To learn more and to sign up for this amazing income potential, please visit our website at www.liquidgreenproducts.com/reseller or call us at 416-460-5645. That's 416-460-5645. Start making a difference and start earning a profit today with the Liquid Green Products Reseller Program, saving the planet with one clean at a time. Welcome back to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts Fred and Janet Cox. Send us an email right now. Our email address is liquidgreenhealthshow@gmail.com. And now back to your hosts of the Liquid Green Health Show, Fred and Janet Cox.
Yes, good afternoon. We are back, folks, and we are having a wonderful conversation with our guest, Sam Richardson, and we are looking into discussing ways and how to avoid heart disease,
and how to maintain a
healthier heart,
and we
by
have
doing certain types of exercise and eating the right types of foods and stuff like
diet, exercise. We haven't talked about sleep, but before we get to that, We have an email from William, and William says, hey, Cox, says, the best way to avoid heart disease, don't get married.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
agree with
I agree with that.
we both agree with
I agree with that 100%.
I think that's in the stress category.
Yeah.
and
For male or female, anyways, carry on.
But you know what? Andrew says, hey, Fred, no more Oreo cookies. Tofu, man. Tofu.
I don't know if you see, it's an acquired taste. I've tried it a few times and no, I can't handle it.
Evan sent you a picture of you eating a whole lot of bush, and Kelly says, hello, Coxes, enjoying the show today. Very informative. Listening to you from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yay.
Right? Great. So, Mike, the question.
No, Sam, why you keep calling him Mike?
This is hard. You know what? I taught school.
I'll just change my name. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I taught school for 27 years, and every single year, there were 2 kids at the beginning of the term that I would mix up. And I did this almost religiously every year. And for the most of the year, I would call one kid by the other name. Frederick, you're lucky I'm calling you Fred and not, another name.
I'm not Mike. I'm not Mike. Okay, here's another email before you get into that. Hey, Fred. Oh, you read that?
Yeah,
okay,
that.
okay, I'm sorry.
What I wanted to ask Sam about is blood pressure. We were talking about, but for blood pressure, I know when we had the meeting the other day and we were listening, several people, especially older women, especially different cultures, Black folks, the blood pressure has such a wide range. How do we know what is normal? Because is there such a range as to normal and optimal? Can you help us with that?
Okay, so back to the heart being that pump, right? So the heart has the ability to, contract and relax. So when your heart is relaxed and the blood pressure monitor takes a reading, that is the bottom number. That's called the diastolic, right? During contraction, that's the top number. That's the systolic. The top number, according to a lot of different texts, between 135 to 100 is a good number to aim for. The bottom number should be anywhere between 60 and 100, right? So you want to keep within those ranges. If you are above those ranges, I think it is an area that you should focus some attention on. Go to your doctor and try to look into it. Sooner rather than later, because those are the things that we want to monitor and try to see what your baseline is. Because my baseline, we talked about baseline, what's normal for me might not be what's normal for you. And from that baseline, that's how we can start to detect irregularities or serious complications. So if I was sitting at 120 over 80 for a long period of time, then a couple of weeks later, I'm now at 140 over 90. Then I would be saying to myself or saying to my doctor, we need to investigate this and see what exactly is happening. But if you maybe had a little bit of a higher of a range, say you're at 135 over 180 or 190, and you've been that consistently, you're still at what is called a high normal. But again, when we're talking about being optimal, where do you want to be and can you do to really decrease those numbers? We talked a little about nutrition, exercise, and meditation and stress alleviation, not smoking, not drinking. Drinking can also increase your risk of high blood pressure as well, which I think a lot of people overlook.
How important?
Sleep is very important. So that can shoot your blood pressure really high really quickly. Your body doesn't have enough time to repair, and you have to shut down at night. I mean, I think we can all agree that sleep is important. And when we don't get a good night's rest, we feel it both in our energy level, but think about what that is actually doing to our heart and our vessels. The constant stress on those pipes, we have to relieve those. So these things over time, blood pressure, high blood pressure over time. And we talked about resilience. Yes, we can manage a large amount of stress, but over what period of time do you actually start to see the engine lights start to come on? Okay. So we have to be mindful of that.
Does race play a factor with those numbers?
That's a very good question. I think, according to the research, yes, race does play a factor with that. I think with that question, we really have to consider lifestyle. We talked about the things that, we can avoid and the things that we can do to reduce having high blood pressure and heart issues. I think in our culture, in the African culture, in a lot of different Indian cultures, whatever has a high prevalence of high fat, delicious food, by the way. High salt is usually accommodates that. So we really have to look at lifestyle, and really, I think we should reevaluate that research and really dive deeper into it.
Another question for you: heart attack. I know we talked about this. The signs, like we say, it's a silent killer because, as you said, you can know you can probably not even know that you're struggling with heart disease, right? So tell us about heart attack and who's most prone. Is it men versus women? Is it black versus white? Is it and what do we do actually? How do we know? And is there anything you can do when you're actually thinking
that you're healthy?
Having a heart attack?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of heart attack, I think again, race and gender do play a role here. I think stress that we take on, whether it's through our employment or just regular lifestyle choices, I think that plays a huge role.
Yes.
Your mate, if you're compatible, are you arguing, stuff like that. But what we can do, we definitely need to be checking our blood pressure. Right, that's basic. That's just go in. If you don't have a blood pressure machine, you can go to Shoppers Drug Mart. You can buy one. You can go to your pharmacy and just get a baseline. Now just because you go there and it's elevated one day, that's a sign. Again, we have to look at the global picture. Did you have a stressful day? Did you just get out of your car? Are you retaining water for some reason? Or is it your part of your time of the month? Like, you have to really consider the total picture. But if it gives you a reason to investigate further, then I would investigate it rather, as opposed to just saying, I'll be fine, which a lot of us do. And I think back to the thing about male, female, I think a lot of us do have guys are like, I'll just deal with it later. It's nothing. Yeah. I'm strong, whatever. So don't do that. Just go get it checked out.
Okay. Now, I want you to just mention very quickly, because I think this has saved so many lives. FAST. Can you just briefly explain what that is and why we should know what to do?
All right. So when we're talking about stroke, we're talking about those exact things. So F, we're talking about your face. So if you notice that your spouse, a person, their face, is it drooping is the question, right? So we had an activity where, I said, droop your face. And I just wanted you to really understand what that meant, because, you can have some paralysis on one side of the face, both sides of the face, but it's something to definitely consider. But again, in your brain, there's these little blood vessels, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller depending on what's going on in the arteries. They can create a clog and cause damage when the blood doesn't flow there. So that's the F in terms of fast. When we're talking about arms and bilaterally versus unilaterally, can you lift your arms? So you ask the person, can you lift your arms? Okay, I can only lift my right arm. Okay, I can't move my left. What's going on? So you can ask them to lift their arms. So we're looking at their face as a drooping. We're at the A, so we're talking about can you reach your arms up in the air, both sides. Can
you do S&T in 1 minute?
Yes. Speech, is it slurred? Is it slurred? Can you talk properly? T, time, don't waste time. Don't waste time. Call 911, pay the bill later if you are, have any questions at all. Just go.
Sam, this has been so interesting. You have so much knowledge. You are a nurse. Can you talk to me during the week and see if you can come back next week? Because I think there is so much that we would like to finish up. If not next week, probably the week after. I would like to continue this conversation with you, because our last email that I will read says, it's from Gail, and she says, blessings to the Liquid Green Health Show. And she says, thank you for saving our lives. And I know you mentioned the DASH diet. We haven't really touched on it. There is so much. We sent out the little blurb with a couple, and we had a couple, and I would like to.
The imaginary couple.
For when you come back. We have this couple, and we sent it out. And I'm going to ask all our listeners, if you had our email, you will see the couple. It was with, who was the couple mentioned? It was Sonia, who was a 69-year-old woman, and her husband.
Sonia, yes.
Bob, who was Caucasian, one had cancer, one had a stroke. We discussed their diets, and they were smoking and different things. And I really wanted us to go through that on another show. And probably we'll get some emails from our listeners. We're going to challenge them and ask them to be the doctor, ask them to diagnose. What would you tell this couple? We're going to send that email out again. Just the little blurb.
Yeah, just to get a response from our listeners to see what advice they would give to the couple. You know,
and it's it's 29 after we have to end, but the show is not ended because you still have too much to share with us. But I don't know why at 5:30 to 6:30, why does the hour go so fast?
I don't know.
I guess because we have interest in the guests.
Time really moves fast when you're having fun. Time moves fast. Sam, we want to thank you for taking the opportunity to
Thanks for having me.
To share your expertise with our audience. This has been insightful, you know, very informative. And I know that the seed has been sown in some listener mind to change their lifestyle, to make things better. And with that, we would have to end the show at this point.
Just before you end the show, the final email just came in from Eric, and he says, "Hi, Cox's great guest. All right, we need to have you back." He also said something which I'll just say. He has a lot of weeds in his yard, Frederick. So he says, "You want to come over?" He's in Toronto. He says, "You're welcome to come over and have some weeds." And I don't know which weeds he means.
Some dandelions. Are we talking about?
Dandelion. Let's hope it's dandelion. With that, folks, we have to say goodbye. We're going to end the show with this quote. This quote, good health is central to human happiness and well-being. It contributes significantly to prosperity and wealth and even economic progress. And as healthy individuals, we can be more productive and even live a little bit longer. So until next Sunday, same time, same place, this is Janet and Fred Cox saying, let's stay healthy. Reality Radio 101. Have a good week.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Liquid Green Health Show with your hosts, Fred and Janet Cox, right here on Reality Radio 101.